Welcome to Football Scientific. I'm Aaron Sauter, and right for Last Word on Sports. I cover the Buffalo Bills and the NFL. Also, I write for CFLNewsHub.com. I cover the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Today, we're going to do a catch-up episode. We're going to go through all the news of the week so far in the NFL, the injuries and movements and stuff of that nature. We already covered some trades and stuff yesterday and the day before, so we're not going to worry about that so much, but we're going to talk about some injuries and stuff going into Thursday Night Football, which is tomorrow night. So that's a big deal. And then we'll also talk about some CFL signings that happened as we head into Week 19. The UFL made a big announcement. They changed a bunch of teams around and stuff, new locations and things. I'll be covering most likely the Orlando Storm, but I will not share that too much right now. And the IFL made a few moves. So let's talk about some football. Here we go. And I am joined with my guest host, Tyler the Tiger. Tyler the Tiger here, ready to go? Fired up. Let's talk about the NFL, CFL, UFL, and the IFL. Boo, 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 boo. Okay, I guess we can start. Let's break it down. Yes, let's break it down. Okay, here we go. So, first, NFL moves. Indianapolis Colts kicker Spencer Schrader, he's out for the season. The Raiders ran into his leg while he was kicking, and boom, out for the year, knee injury. Las Vegas Raiders have released linebacker Jermaine Pratt. He used to be with the Bengals. He did not get re-signed, and now he got picked up by the Raiders, but then also he got released. So I guess I think it's past his time, man. Pittsburgh Steelers are signing running back Raheem Blackshear to their practice squad, so they're getting some depth at running back. New England Patriots running back Antonio Gibson is done for the season. He got his leg taken out by Buffalo on a kickoff return, and it looked pretty nasty, and he's done for the year. Detroit Lions are down a few cornerbacks. Cornerback DJ Reed hurt his hamstring, and cornerback Terran Arnold hurt his shoulder. And initially, Dan Campbell said, well, Terran Arnold's going to be out for a long time, but then he got a second opinion. They were like, it's just the shoulder. Boom. LA Chargers running back Omarion Hampton injured his ankle in the Chargers game against the Commanders. Guess what? He moved to IR. He's going to be out a minimum of 4 weeks. So at least he's not out for the season. Their other running back, Najee Harris, is out for the season with a torn Achilles. So at least Omarion Hampton didn't get that. What the Chargers are going to run into, though, is how are they going to ground and pound the ball? Jim Harbaugh likes to ground and pound the ball and play action. How are they going to do that to keep losing running backs? Well, obviously, they're going to pick up some more running backs. Philadelphia Eagles running back Saquon Barkley, boom, did not practice. He has a knee injury. That's why the Eagles got, they just started passing the ball a bunch because Saquon Barkley's out, man. Boom, Cincinnati Bengals, they made a few moves yesterday in their transition to Joe Flacco, so let's see what they did. First, they released quarterback Mike White from the practice squad. They then hit the trade for Joe Flacco. And now they've named him as their starter for Green Bay. So I guess they picked him up because he's a quick study. He's a veteran. I figured he'd learn the offense real quick. Says he'll play against Green Bay this week. So that's rapid fire, okay? At least he's a starter again. You should be hyped. And then he has a lot better weapons than he did with the Browns. Baltimore Ravens, free agent safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson has signed to their practice squad. If you remember, he was with the Houston Texans. They gave him a fully guaranteed contract, I think $6.5 million for the year, fully guaranteed. He got hurt. He was on the injured list for a while. They released him, and now the Ravens are picking him up. He's getting double paid because he was getting paid by the Houston Texans, now getting practice squad money from the Ravens. And they're getting him for real cheap because he already has that money that was fully guaranteed from the Texans. So we'll see how it goes. But he's getting a chance to make some cash. And that gives, the Ravens need a new safety since Kyle Hamilton's out. So, that was a needed move. Boom. The Cincinnati Bengals Cleveland Browns trade was the first interdivisional trade since 1999 in the NFL. If you remember, in 2017, they tried to trade A.J. McCarron for something, and the Browns forgot to sign the paperwork. So they didn't do that this time. That's good. Cincinnati Bengals, they're going to start Joe Flacco. Brett Rippon also got released as a quarterback from the Bengals, so they're clearing some roster space for Joe Flacco. Boom, Jacksonville Jaguars, they placed tight end Brenton Stevens on the IR. LA Chargers signed running back Nyheim Hines to their practice squad. I mentioned they had to pick up some running backs. They picked up Nyheim Hines. In addition to the Browns-Bengals trade, the Baltimore Ravens and LA Chargers traded safety Elahi Gilman from LA to the Ravens. So they're picking up another safety. And they got a 2026 fifth-round draft pick for that. The Chargers get edge rusher Odafe Oweh. And they get a 2027 seventh-round pick for that, okay. And I saw a thing that said, that Buffalo missed the boat on picking up Odafe Oweh, but I don't think so. We have a lot of edge rushers. We don't have defensive tackles. Buffalo is missing defensive tackles, not edge rushers. We have plenty of edge rushers. Okay, Las Vegas Raiders. They signed former Bills punter Brad Robbins to their practice squad, so he's been picked up now after being cut by Buffalo. They could have used him. But you can't have too many punters, man. It's this dead space on your roster. He's on the practice squad for the Raiders. Indianapolis Colts signed free agent Michael Badgley. Boom, he's going to replace, and they placed kicker Spencer Schrader on the IR list officially. He's out at least 4 weeks. He's down for the year is what they're saying. Darius Slayton for the Giants. After Malik Neighbors got hurt, Darius Slayton was supposed to be their top receiver. And guess what? He hurt his hamstring. He's going to be out versus the Eagles. I suspect the Eagles are going to beat the Giants. But they're not going to have Saquon Barkley. So you never know what might happen. This might be an all-out, weird game where the Giants are out of receivers and the Eagles are running a backup running back and they're trying to pass the ball. This is an ugly game. That could be fun to watch. That'll be tomorrow night. I haven't made my pick yet on who I think is going to win that. Arizona Cardinals head coach Jonathan Gannon said quarterback Kyler Murray is not practicing. He's day-to-day. He's a little bang up. He's a little injured. Detroit Lions signed offensive line Dan Skipper to their practice squad. They placed cornerback Khalil Donner on their IR. They signed quarterback Arthur Mallett to their practice squad. They got to get some depth back at cornerback after having all these guys hurt, man. Baltimore Ravens quarterback, not cornerback. Lamar Jackson did not practice. He's missed 4 practices in a row. It's not going that well with a hamstring, which is a big hit to me because he's on my fantasy team and I'm going to have to start Bo Nix again, I guess. We lost last week with that combination. San Francisco 49ers, they have some guys not practice. Quarterback Brock Purdy has the toe injury. Wide receiver Ricky Pearsall has the knee injury. Sorry. Wide receiver Juwan Jennings has the ankle and rib injury. I'm going to say they don't need those guys because they picked up a huge win last week against the Rams with Mac Jones. Mac Jones actually undefeated as the quarterback of the 49ers, and he's done with some less than elite talent at receiver. I think they're fine. Even those guys. But for fantasy purposes, you're going to be without Brock Purdy, Ricky Pearsall, or Juwan Jennings. So you might want to stay away from the 49ers for fantasy football reasons. Las Vegas Raiders tight end Brock Bowers did not practice. He still has a knee injury. He's working through it. Got to keep that in mind for fantasy purposes. All right, a bunch of CFL moves. Trying to change the gears to the CFL. Toronto Argonauts moved to her practice roster national wide receiver Ezekiel Taid. They moved to single injury-less American quarterback Nick Arbuckle. Okay, so he's out for this week. Montreal Alouettes released American quarterback Cameron Dukes, and they signed American quarterback E.J. Perry from the UFL. Cameron Dukes is looking for a job again. He should go to the UFL. That'd be fun. I like the way he runs around and plays the game. He's very athletic. I think he'd be good in the UFL. Saskatchewan Roughriders, they signed American defensive back Jordan Perryman. They released American wide receiver Dre McCray, and they moved to the practice roster American kicker Michael Hughes. Okay. Boom. Calgary Stampeders moved to the practice roster national wide receiver Vashon Genesis. They added from their practice roster American defensive back Lance Robinson. They signed American running back Antonio Brown, and they released American defensive back Tyler Richardson. Okay. More moves in the CFL. It's been a busy week. Heading into week 19, Ottawa Red Blacks added from their practice roster national linebackers Zachary Fillon. They signed American defensive lineman Jelani Stafford. They signed American defensive back Kenyon Reed. They signed American linebacker Jonathan Jones. They signed American wide receiver Latrell Jones. They moved to the same game injured list American defensive lineman Chase McGowan, and they added from the practice roster American defensive lineman Jesse Every. And they moved to the same game injured list Charlie Bagley. Okay. More Ottawa Red Blacks moves. They added from their practice roster American defensive back Cameron Lockridge, and they moved to the single injured list American defensive back Bennett Williams. I guess Cameron Lockridge was activated to fill in for him. BC Lions signed American defensive back Lorondo Johnston. That happened today. All right, now we got the UFL moves. Some big moves happening there. So the UFL went through and announced a bunch of changes with Mike Rapole, this billionaire type. That's he's known for rebranding things and making things more palatable. So he's trying to rebrand spring football with the UFL. It does sound like they're coming back for a third season, which is like a record for spring football in the modern age. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so here's the deal. There's going to be 8 markets still in the UFL. They're still going to do a hub situation. The teams are going to go travel to their games a few days in advance, and they're going to kind of do some events with the community, try to build some community awareness. They're still trying to be on the budget, but they're trying to get some more fan base interaction. Okay. One thing they thought needed to happen was they need some smaller stadiums in some of the less popular markets. Okay, so St. Louis keeps their stadium, Birmingham keeps their stadium, but a lot of places shrunk their stadiums. 6 out of the 8 teams are going to play in a stadium less than 30,000 people, and they think that'll give it a more full look and help with the atmosphere of the game. Okay. Now, I personally like going to the UFL games when there's no one there. The tickets are cheap. It's fun to watch. You get to move around the stadium. It's really cool. I recommend it. But, if they get more people, I guess that helps the league be more prosperous, too. Okay. All right. The season's still going to start March 27th. It's like it has been. It's not going to be moved close to the Super Bowl, as some people were hoping. Here's the teams that are staying. The teams that are coming back, as they are Birmingham Stallions. They'll still be playing in Protective Stadium. I heard they're going to go move to Hoover, but that was just a rumor. They're going to play Protective Stadium. And they only sell tickets for half the stadium. They could probably sell tickets for a whole stadium and have a better chance, but they roughly get about 10,000 people. That stadium holds 30,000, so it's solid attendance. They could do better, but it's solid attendance. These two Defenders are still playing at Audi Field. They get really good numbers. That's a soccer field. They get really good numbers there. St. Louis Battlehawks, their whole pride is about the dome, America's dome, so you gotta stay there. They sell a lot of tickets there. It's the highest attendance in the league, so it's probably all good things to have St. Louis still in the dome. Dallas Renegades, notice I said Dallas Renegades instead of Arlington Renegades. When they were in the XFL, they were the Dallas Renegades. When they went to the UFL, they became the Arlington Renegades, and then they're going back to the Dallas Renegades, and they're playing at Toyota Stadium, which I believe is for the Dallas Burn. The Dallas Burn plays or Dallas Football. I guess it's the old name, Dallas Burn. The Dallas Football Club plays at Toyota Stadium, so they're going to get a soccer field. It was just good. I think it's a good size for the UFL. Okay, some new brands. So basically, no teams were added, but some teams were rebranded. They got moved. They're going to keep similar coaching staffs and general managers. A lot of things are going to change, especially for teams like the San Antonio Brahmas, where everything fell apart during the season. So much so I quit covering the league that I felt like it was a setup. I felt like they were setting up the Brahmas. I'm going to cover this league. I had to choose between the Orlando Storm and Louisville Kings. I picked the Louisville Kings, but I picked the Storm as my second option, so we'll see which one I get. Boom. Columbus Aviators. They are going to play a historic Crew Stadium. They're blue and red and stuff, and they're the Aviators, like planes. I guess because, like in Dayton, they made a bunch of plane stuff. They got a museum there. I guess that's they're building off that plane situation. They're not the Jets. They're the Aviators. Houston Roughnecks went back to being the Houston Gamblers. I guess they thought that was more popular than the Houston Roughnecks. Well, they thought the Houston Roughnecks was more. It's hard to say what's more popular. No one showed up to the game last year. And they're now going to play in Shell Energy Stadium, which I believe is the Houston Football Club Stadium. Orlando Storm is new. They're going back to Orlando. UFL is. I believe the San Antonio Brahmas are moving to Orlando. They didn't clarify that, but I believe that's what I've heard. I heard Houston Roughnecks will be the Houston Gamblers, and I heard Michigan Panthers will be Columbus Aviators. That's what I've heard. And I heard Memphis Showboats will be Louisville Kings. But those have not been confirmed, but I did hear that. as rumors, throughout through the grapevine. Orlando's going to play at a stadium called Inter and Company Stadium. I believe it's where the Orlando City MLS team plays. And the Louisville Kings, they're going to play in Louisville. There's a soccer field in Louisville. I think they might just play in, University of Louisville's stadium. It's a nice stadium, and it's well built for a UFL type team. There was also some signings in the league. DC Defenders re-signed defensive tackle Dennis Johnson and defensive back Bryce Thompson. Teams should start re-signing people now that we understand what teams are staying and going and all that stuff. I hope to see more teams re-signing people. The Dallas Renegades, they re-signed running back Day Hunter. They re-signed wide receiver Javante Payton. They re-signed offensive guard Marcus Manor. They re-signed long snapper Antonio Ortiz. They re-signed linebacker Donald Payne. They signed linebacker Brandon Smith. And then the New England Patriots signed a former Brahmas player, running back Deshaun Corbin, has been signed back to the Patriots practice squad. So he's getting another look at the NFL. Boom. And the UFL, the Birmingham Stallions re-signed offensive guard Deontay Brown. They added offensive guard Chasen Hines, and they added offensive tackle Earl Bostic. And I'm just going to say, the Birmingham Stallions forever have been the best team in the USFL, and they're a pretty good team in the UFL. They didn't win last year, but, they're pretty good. I would say teams should be following their lead. What are they investing their money in right now this time of year? Offensive linemen, running backs. They're not breaking the bank on running back or receivers and quarterbacks. They're getting linemen and running backs into their camp, and that's how you win games in the UFL, man. DC Defenders re-signed defensive tackle Dennis Johnson and defensive back Bryce Thompson as the DC Defenders. I think I already had that, but they looked new to me for a moment. All right, and then IFL, the Iowa Barnstormers have re-signed wide receiver Raheem Harvey. Now they just signed him. I guess they acquired him. He had played for several teams, I think Quad City along the way, and they brought him in to help boost their offense, which they need. So that is the news for today in pro football. We have some college games on right now. The Sun Belt is playing, and it should be pretty fun to watch. The games didn't interest me really, so I believe there's some games tomorrow too that are Sun Belt and American Athletic Conference. I might watch some, but I'm not sure if I'll cover them. The NFL game's on tomorrow night. I believe it's the New York Giants and the Eagles. So that would be pretty fun, especially since both teams are kind of beat up. It should be a competitive game, so that's the deal for tonight. Make sure, check out Last Word on Sports and check out my Buffalo Bills articles. Check out CFLNewsHub.com and the Hamilton Tirecast articles. We'll be having our CFL predictions tomorrow for Week 19. And then check out UFL News Hub. I'll be back on there probably in a few weeks, writing again for either the Louisville Kings or Orlando Storm based on how this thing worked out with picking a team. And then make sure you share the video, boop, like the channel, boop, and subscribe, boop, and we'll have some predictions coming up tomorrow from the CFL games for Week 19, so that should be fun. And I'll have a prediction for the Thursday night game, and we'll see about a college football game. I don't know how I feel about that, but the games are kind of boring on Thursday, and they're hard to predict because I don't have a lot of knowledge of those teams. That's my weakness at the college football level is I know some teams really well, like Cincinnati, Purdue, Georgia, Alabama. I don't know the other teams that well, so I miss a lot of predictions there. But I still like making them. It's fun. It's fun to track my progress. So that is the show for today. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And we're going to close the Football Scientific portal for tonight. Boop, boop, boop.